"No, father," Susan pleaded, her voice trembling. "Don't do this to me. Please don't touch me." Desperation clawed at her chest. "I promise I won't tell anyone. Just let me go. My mother needs me at the hospital right now." Once upon a time, there lived a single mother named Felicia and her adorable daughter, Susan. Felicia's heart broke when Susan's father abandoned them, saying he was tired of their poor life. He ran away with a wealthy woman. Felicia, a strong woman, worked hard to provide for Susan, despite their struggles. She poured all her love into raising Susan and never gave up hope for a better future. As they faced life's challenges together, Felicia and Susan's bond grew stronger. They laughed, cried, and supported each other through thick and thin. Despite the pain of abandonment, Felicia remained resilient and determined to give Susan the best life possible. Together, they were an unstoppable team, facing each day with courage and optimism. After Felicia's heartbreak, fate intervened to bring her a glimmer of hope. She met a kind and generous man named Chief Patrick, who saw the beauty and strength in her spirit. Chief Patrick was captivated by Felicia's resilience and admired her unwavering devotion to Susan. He offered them a helping hand and opened his heart to them, welcoming them into his home with open arms. As they spent more time together, Chief Patrick's admiration for Felicia only grew stronger. He admired her strength, her determination, and her unwavering love for Susan. In Felicia, he found a kindred spirit, a woman who had faced adversity with grace and courage. Before long, Chief Patrick made a heartfelt proposal of marriage to Felicia, vowing to cherish and support her and Susan for all eternity. Overjoyed by the prospect of a fresh start, Felicia accepted, and they were married in a joyous celebration, surrounded by friends and family. As husband and wife, Chief Patrick showered Felicia and Susan with love and affection. He adored them both, treating them like royalty and ensuring that they wanted for nothing. His home became a sanctuary of warmth and happiness, where Felicia and Susan flourished under his loving care. Chief Patrick's love for Felicia and Susan knew no bounds. He became a father figure to Susan, guiding her with wisdom and kindness as she navigated the challenges of growing up. And to Felicia, he was a source of strength and support, standing by her side through every triumph and tribulation. Chief Patrick delighted in showering Susan with gifts, filling her life with an abundance of dresses, toys, and trinkets fit for a princess. Susan's eyes sparkled with joy at each new surprise, and her room overflowed with treasures bestowed upon her by her doting stepfather. But as the gifts piled up, Felicia began to worry. She feared that Chief Patrick's generosity was spoiling Susan, filling her head with material desires and distracting her from the simple joys of life. "Patrick, I appreciate your kindness, but I'm afraid you're spoiling Susan," Felicia gently voiced her concern. "She's beginning to expect gifts all the time, and it's not healthy for her development." Chief Patrick listened to Felicia's words with a thoughtful expression, but his love for Susan remained unwavering. "Felicia, she is my daughter too," he replied, his voice filled with warmth and affection. "I want to give her the world and more. I can't help but spoil her." Felicia sighed, understanding the depth of Chief Patrick's love for Susan. While she appreciated his gestures of affection, she couldn't shake the feeling that Susan needed more than material possessions to thrive. "Patrick, I know you love her deeply, but we must be mindful of the values we instill in her," Felicia urged gently. "Let's show her that love isn't measured in gifts, but in the moments we share and the memories we create together." Chief Patrick nodded, his heart filled with gratitude for Felicia's wisdom. Together, They made a conscious effort to strike a balance, showering Susan with love and attention, while teaching her the importance of gratitude and humility. And as Susan grew, she came to cherish not just the gifts she received, but the love and guidance of her devoted parents. Unknown to Felicia, Chief Patrick found himself admiring Susan as she grew into a remarkable young woman. Her beauty and intelligence were undeniable, and Chief Patrick couldn't help but be impressed by her grace and charm. As Susan blossomed, Chief Patrick couldn't help but notice the way she carried herself with confidence and poise. Her intelligence shone through in every conversation, and her beauty radiated from within, captivating those around her. Chief Patrick's admiration for Susan was a silent acknowledgement of the remarkable person she had become. He marveled at her strength and resilience, knowing that she had overcome adversity with grace and dignity. Yet, Chief Patrick was careful to keep his feelings in check, knowing that Susan was his stepdaughter and that his admiration must remain platonic. He respected Felicia too much to let his feelings interfere with their family dynamic. Despite his silent admiration, Chief Patrick remained a pillar of support for Felicia and Susan, always there to offer guidance and encouragement as they navigated life's challenges together. And though his feelings remained unspoken, Chief Patrick took solace in the knowledge that Susan had grown into a woman of whom he is proud of. One day, Chief Patrick found himself unable to contain his feelings any longer. With a solemn heart and trembling hands, he approached Susan and poured out his emotions. "Susan, I must confess something to you," he began, his voice filled with emotion. "I have been admiring you for a very long time. Your beauty, your intelligence, your grace, they have captured my heart in a way I never thought possible." But Susan's response was not what Chief Patrick had hoped for. With a pained expression, she shook her head and took a step back. "No, Chief Patrick, that's not possible," Susan replied firmly, her voice tinged with sadness. "You're like a father to me, and I can't—" But Chief Patrick interrupted her, his own heart breaking with the realization that his feelings were not reciprocated. "Susan, I understand if you can't see me in that way," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. "But I had to tell you how I feel. I hope you can forgive me." With a solemn heart, Susan turned away from Chief Patrick and walked away, her footsteps echoing in the silence between them. And as she disappeared from view, Chief Patrick was left alone with his thoughts, grappling with the pain of unrequited love and the consequences of his confession. As Chief Patrick grappled with the aftermath of his confession, tragedy struck the family like a bolt from the blue. Out of nowhere, Felicia fell gravely ill, her health rapidly deteriorating before their eyes. The doctor's diagnosis was devastating. Felicia had kidney failure, and urgent medical care abroad was their only hope. Susan's world crumbled around her as she heard the news. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she cried out to God, her voice filled with anguish and despair. "Why me, God? Why us?" she pleaded, her heart heavy with grief and uncertainty. Chief Patrick, too, felt the weight of despair bearing down on him. His beloved wife's illness shook him to the core, leaving him feeling helpless and lost. "We must do everything we can to save her," he declared, his voice trembling with determination. When Chief Patrick and Susan finally arrived home from the hospital, Susan's mind was still reeling from the shock of the doctor's diagnosis. But what she heard next sent another jolt of disbelief through her entire being. "Susan, I have something to tell you," Chief Patrick began solemnly, his voice heavy with the weight of his words. "I don't have the money for your mother's kidney transplant." Susan's eyes widened in shock, her heart sinking like a stone in her chest. "But father, how can that be?" she exclaimed, her voice trembling with disbelief. "I thought you just won a huge contract a few weeks ago. Why are you saying you don't have money now?" Chief Patrick's response hit Susan like a punch to the gut. "Even if I did win a huge contract, you expect me to spend it all on your mother," he retorted, his tone tinged with bitterness. "She's a woman who hasn't given me any children. I won't do that." Susan felt as if the ground had been pulled out from under her feet. She couldn't fathom how her own father could be so heartless, so willing to let her mother suffer because of his own selfishness. Tears welled up in Susan's eyes as she struggled to comprehend the enormity of what Chief Patrick was saying. She felt like the image of the loving father she once knew had shattered, leaving behind only a cold and heartless figure. As Susan lay on her bed, unable to sleep, her mind raced with thoughts of Chief Patrick's shocking words. She couldn't shake off the disbelief of his heartless ultimatum, nor could she silence the nagging worry about how to raise money for her mother's hospital bills. Lost in her thoughts, Susan was startled when Chief Patrick suddenly entered the room. "I will pay your mother's hospital bill," he declared, his voice heavy with a sinister undertone. "On one condition: you will let me have my way with you." Feeling scared and disgusted, Susan couldn't believe what Chief Patrick was asking. "How could you ask that of me, father?" she pleaded, her voice shaking with anger and shock. "I could never agree to something so terrible." But Chief Patrick's face turned stern, and he warned her. "Think carefully, Susan. Your mother's life is at stake. Are you willing to let her suffer because of your pride?" Susan felt sick to her stomach at the thought. She knew she couldn't give in, even though she worried about her mother. With determination, she stood her ground. "I'll find another way to save my mother," she vowed. "I won't let you dishonor us like this." The following day, Susan tried desperately to find a solution. She reached out to anyone who might help with her mother's hospital bills, but no one offered assistance. Disheartened and weary, Susan trudged along the streets, her heart heavy with despair. When she finally returned home, Chief Patrick approached her with a solemn expression. "I have another solution to our problems," he announced. Susan let out a heavy sigh, her heart sinking at the thought of another one of Chief Patrick's schemes. "Oh no, not again," she thought to herself, bracing for the worst. Turning to face Chief Patrick, she asked, "What is it this time? I hope it's not what I'm thinking." "Please calm down, Susan," Chief Patrick urged, his voice tinged with false reassurance. "I want you to get married to Mr. Robinson's son, Frederick. He has promised to take care of your mother's hospital bills if only you agree to marry his only son." Susan's eyes widened in disbelief, her heart pounding with shock and disbelief. "Marry Frederick," she exclaimed, her voice trembling with disbelief. "But father, I barely even know him. How could you ask me to make such a life-changing decision?" Patrick's words landed like a heavy blow, crushing Susan's hopes and leaving her feeling trapped. "But father, this isn't fair," she protested, her voice quivering with frustration and fear. "I can't just marry someone I don't love for the sake of my mother's hospital bills." Patrick's expression hardened, his tone unforgiving. "You have no choice, Susan," he insisted, his words laced with menace. "If you don't accept, I will send you packing, and nobody will help you with your mother's hospital bills." Susan felt the weight of Patrick's ultimatum pressing down on her shoulders, squeezing the breath from her lungs. Tears welled up in her eyes as she realized the depth of her predicament. "But father, please, she pleaded, her voice barely above a whisper. There must be another way. I can't sacrifice my happiness for this. As Susan lay on her bed, tears streaming down her cheeks, she couldn't shake the image of Frederick's cruel treatment of his ex-wife from her mind. The thought of enduring such abuse filled her with dread and despair. How could she agree to marry someone capable of such cruelty? Overwhelmed by fear and uncertainty, Susan felt a wave of panic wash over her. What will I do? She whispered to herself, her voice barely audible in the silence of her room. How will I navigate this impossible situation? I can't bear the thought of losing my mother or being forced to sleep on the streets if Chief Patrick kicks me out of the house. The realization of her dire circumstances hit Susan like a ton of bricks, leaving her feeling helpless and alone. She couldn't fathom why Chief Patrick would subject her to such cruelty. Was it because he wasn't her biological father? The thought lingered in her mind, adding to her confusion and shock. With a sense of sadness weighing on her, Susan reluctantly agreed to Chief Patrick's demands. Despite her fears and doubts, she knew saving her mother's life was the priority. True to his word, Mr. Robinson stepped in and cleared Felicia's hospital bills. A huge weight lifted off Susan's shoulders. Felicia was flown abroad for the kidney transplant, and the surgery went smoothly, bringing hope for her recovery. However, before Felicia returned from overseas, Chief Patrick delivered a stern warning to Susan. He demanded she keep their dark secret hidden from her mother. Susan felt torn, but she vowed to obey, not wanting to upset her fragile family balance. As Felicia's homecoming neared, Susan grappled with the burden of her secret. She longed to confide in her mother, but the fear of causing more pain held her back. With a sense of sadness, Susan kept Chief Patrick's despicable act hidden, hoping one day she'd find the courage to speak up. If you enjoyed this captivating story, don't forget to show your support. Like, share, and subscribe to this channel to stay updated with more engaging content like this. Make sure to turn on post notifications to be the first to know whenever we upload new videos. Your support means the world to us.